Good afternoon, people. You are now tuned in to the best. You are now tuned in to the best. Let's see what we got here. Pin message, bang. All right. I want to see if this thing works out here. Give me 1 second, people. Yeah. We in the building. Yeah. Peace, old growers 7 and 5. Today's build is going to be about the Afro Set Black Nationalist Party for Self-Defense. This is in Cleveland. We running up in Cleveland today. We gonna play around in Cleveland today. So that's where we at with it. So without further ado, I'm gonna share my screen and then we gonna get busy. Okay, let's go. Where is my joints? Bang. Time. So this here is the Afro Set Black Nationalist Party for Self-Defense. A lot of times you hear about the Black Panther Party, you hear about them, but in the Black Power era, there's multiple organizations that are set up for self-defense. A lot of them you probably never heard of. One being the Alabama Liberation Front, the Georgia Liberation Front. It's a whole lot of them. But today we're going to talk about this organization, which a lot of people probably never heard of. So here you can see the Afro Set in Cleveland. It's black and white picture though, but their flag is red, black, and green. And when you're dealing with Black power and you're dealing with that is coming out of the civil rights movement, meaning that it is another form of, you could call it, I wouldn't call it rightful asking. I would call it direct action. So these organizations come out of that in opposition to working within the system, asking to get things done. They tend to use the grassroots to be able to build organization and directly deal with the people. And then in turn, they use that to put pressure on the politicians versus the other way. In any event, we want to discuss the origins of Black nationalism in Cleveland in the 60s. On the right, you're going to see a brother named Lewis Robinson. He's a very important figure. So it says, alternative to more elite civil rights organizations, such as the NAACP, began to develop in March of 1961 with the introduction of Lewis Robinson's Freedom Fighters, a group of young persons, street-level protesters who believed in freedom now. In his memoirs, Robinson writes, these were freedom fighters, a group of factory workers, not people with degrees, but hungry ex-Southerners like me who came north looking for equality and brotherhood and discovered that you had to fight even harder than in the South. So that was a reality for a lot of Black people with the Great Migrations. Yes, they escaped specific things of Jim Crow, but now it comes a new struggle, obtaining employment, obtaining education, and being locked out from certain positions. And now you have to still find yourself fighting for what you would call civil rights. Here's the roles that this individual, Mr. Robinson, played in, and he is the founder of the JFK House. Don't think that means the president. That stands for Jomo Freedom Kenyatta's House. He's the founder of the Freedom Fighters, Inc. of Ohio. He is the assistant director of economic development in the Howe Area Development Corp. And he's one of the organizers of the Mega Evers Rifle Club. And, you know, those rifle clubs, such as the Deacons of Defense, and these organizations were brought forth to protect the people from your KKK people. Because, you know, they start when? 1866, right after you were supposedly free. Malcolm X delivers his speech, The Ballot of the Bullet, in 1964 there. And in this build, in this presentation, you're going to see these ideologies, those who take the ballot and those who will go to one to take the bullet. And it's this speech that Malcolm did in this area, it played a big role in the nationalist people mind frames and organization. So another organization before we get to the Afro Set, because all of these people work together, so you can't separate them. So another organization there was called the Republic of New Libya, not New Africa, but New Libya. This was founded by Fred Ahmed Evans. Says Evans emerged as a militant advocate for the poor after the Huff riots. He told the black poor that he was a soldier, and just like the traditional leadership class, he had a role to play. In March of 1967, Evans turned toward building up New Libya by opening the African Cultural Shop. The shop became a recruiting spot, a place for disaffected teens, and alternative to street crime and street gangs. At his storefront shop, Evans taught his adherents the principles of Black nationalism are to believe in God, to know and understand God. We have the words of Jesus, and Jesus is saying that we cannot serve God and mammon to be obligated to God, meant in all circumstances. If it means your life, it means your life. Black nationalists will fight is self-defense, in self-defense. The time is now. So this brother, he comes to Harlem in 64, and he has an interesting story. And, you know, what he does is he basically says he saw a UFO. And because he saw a UFO, he started to study astrology. So in his cultural shop, he will mix astrology, all different kind of sciences. So I guess you can call what he's doing spiritual Black nationalism. This is what he did, and he took that and he got the youth. What made him big amongst the youth is he made a prediction, and he predicted these big riots that would take place. And the youth saw it. It was in the newspapers, and they flocked to this brother. In any event, this brother is not a joke, and he is no game. He's not waiting for a UFO to come and save the people. Let's see what happens. How powerful was this man? If you look on the right, you'll see him meeting Dr. Martin Luther King. So you got to ask yourself this question. This individual is in Cleveland. He's a Black nationalist. In the papers, they say that him and the other brothers you're going to read about that we're going to cover here started this specific riot. But let's see what happens here. It says the summer of 1967, according to the Maserati report on Cleveland's race crisis, Martin Luther King's peaceful efforts to press for better jobs for Negroes met with indifference in the Negro neighborhoods. When King came to Cleveland that spring, he specifically asked to meet with Evans, acknowledging the influence that the Nationalists had obtained. So, you know, the grassroots people and the people that's down on the street, the people that's on that level, which is the masses of the people at this specific time, they were tired of hearing about Democrats and preachers, and they're like, we're not seeing nothing. But this guy knew that he had to talk to this individual. I kind of don't know why King didn't have that same, fire to meet Malcolm X. That would have been great. But in any event, let's keep reading. The first meeting occurred in front of cameras in late May when King, Evans, and local pastors came to an agreement that they could all work together beginning on June 1st, the target date for organizing the Negro ghettos of Cleveland. The call and post concluded Carl Stokes for mayor might be one of the ultimate goals in an arousement of the poor which would, among other things, develop political potential, support candidates who represent the needs for the concerns of the Black community. Now, this brother Carl Stokes is the first Black mayor in a U.S. city. Now, what you're going to see here is that this organization, the Afro Set, and other organizations by Lewis Robinson that you saw in the back, those are the people who got this man to be the Black mayor. Not the Black church, not all of those other things that normally happen. It was the Black Nationalists that got the first Black mayor, Carl Stokes, into office. Another Black History Month blip. There's a lot of people in here. Okay, what happens with our brother? So this is one of my favorite books here that I, achieved, that I obtained, Black Power Encyclopedia. Armed resistance takes place. Armed resistance. Glenville, Cleveland, July 23rd to 28th, 1968. A 4-hour gun battle between Cleveland police and a Black Power organization, the Black Nationalists of New Libya, ensued the evening of July 23rd, 1968. The reports of Cleveland Black stockpiling weapons led to increase of police surveillance on Evans and the New Libyans, which was perceived as harassment. Shooting ensued after a verbal conflict between police and Evans and New Libyans over the increased surveillance. The conflict resulted in the deaths of 3 Black Power activists, 3 police officers, and a bystander. 15 others, including New Libyan combatants, police officers, and observers, were wounded. The shooting stopped after an unarmed Evans surrendered to police officers. An uprising and 4 more days of insurgency followed Evans' surrender. Evans was ultimately convicted of murder and sentenced to death. Later, his sentence was commuted to life. Evans died of cancer while incarcerated in 1978. So when this mayor, Carl Stokes, comes into office, he has a grand plan to stop violence. So one of the things of the sentiments was, we're going to keep cool for Carl. We're going to keep cool. We're going to keep these streets cool for Mr. Carl. So, Martin Luther King get killed, and then you're going to see the same strategy that is used here and used in New York. They started to pump money to these Black nationalist organizations. And what this brother did, the mayor, Carl Stokes, he did something that no mayor ever done before. He told all of the white police to fall back. And he let the Black nationalists patrol the area and put Black police there. In turn, when people were calling in, like 911, there was emergencies, they would say, call Carl Stokes, the nigger. And if you had a problem or you were sick and you was calling it, and the white people picked the phone up to answer your emergency call, they'll tell you, call Carl Stokes, the nigger. Yeah, it was crazy. So in any event, this brother goes to jail for this. Multiple police died, but he gets money. And the money that he gets supposed to go to his program. He invested, according to the records, to guns. So what they do is they make a subcommittee of the Senate, and they talk about these 3 groups in Cleveland, which is interesting that they're homing in on this. And they talk about him. They talk about Mr. Robinson. They'll tell you that they are part of all these different organizations. They'll say they know people from RAM, because all these people are talking all around the city. And they say that he had connections, what became the Republic of New Africa, because they went to a Detroit rally. So all these individuals know each other. So it's hard to tell a story just on one group, because all of them they overlap each other. But now we'll move on. That was our brother. Let's scroll back. Fred Ahmad Evans, the man who saw the UFO, but then he winds up turning up and 3 police get killed. I should have put the newspaper clipping in here, because the guns that they have are submachine guns, and the police couldn't handle it. And yeah, it was kind of crazy. But again, here you see King talking to him. So I thought that was interesting. And King also said something else. And did I put that in here? I'll put it at the end. I think I put it in here. I put it at the end. Yeah, I'll put it at the end. So now comes the other organization. So that guy chose the bullet. So remember, Malcolm's speech, 64, had a big impact. Fred Ahmed and them chose the bullet. Now we're going to look at the other aspect of Black power, the ballot. So it says the Afro Set Black Nationalist Party for Self-Defense was one of the primary Black power organizations in the Midwest in the 1960s, known as the Afro Set. The organization began in 67 and existed until 73. Afro Set is often associated with Cleveland's urban rebellions of the 1960s. The Afro Set emerged onto the stage following a year of 1966, in which an array of forces, leftist, civil rights activists, white religious, and Black activists waged an all-out struggle against racism, police brutality, and discrimination in education, housing, and employment in Cleveland. In 1966, the JFK House, Jomo Freedom Kenyatta, was founded as a youth center sponsored by community residents to provide an outlet for young people in the Superior area of Cleveland, which lacked public funding, social and recreational centers due to a fiscal discard by the local government. So this is the climate which brings forth this organization. It says the JFK House's demise followed the bloody 1966 Huff Rebellion that exploded on July 18th, when a Black patron of a white-owned bar at 79th and Huff requested a glass of water and was told by the proprietor that they don't serve niggas. The single spark started an urban prairie fire that lasted for 6 days and saw the National Guard deployed, with tanks stationed in the heart of the Huff Guard, sentries stationed in front of white-owned businesses, and guardsmen patrolling the community with 50 caliber machine guns mounted on jeeps. The police and city officials blamed the JFK House, branding it a firebomb factory, and worked to dismantle support for it. The officials ultimately succeeded in forcing its closure. So here you can see our brother Harold Jones. He's also known as AKA Harold X. And on the left, you will see the first Black mayor of a U.S. state in the United States, which would be Carl Stokes on the left. All right. The Afro Set was founded and led by Harold Jones. He was the prime minister. Shabaka Akil, second in command, and Omar Majid, he was the minister of information. Its leadership structure also featured a minister of defense, a queen mother, and a minister of culture. The Afro Set also opened a chapter in Columbus, Ohio, led by Minister Nomo X. From its inception, the organization attracted numerous young people. Many were runaways in junior high and high school dropouts. The leadership did its best to encourage youth to return home, but was surprised to learn that many of their parents preferred that they be involved in the Afro Set rather than roaming the streets. That's interesting. So you have the government calling these people terrorists. They're they want to kill all white people, but the Black people in the community, they rather their children be with these individuals than running in the streets. So you have two narratives here. Who do you believe? Let's keep moving. It says the organization endeavored to put the talents of these youths to work in serving the Black community. Youths who had artistic skills were assigned to propaganda. Those demonstrating leadership abilities commanded the drill team or became community organizers. Others with musical or other artistic talents became drummers, poets, or actors. And everyone became soldiers for freedom, as the Afro Set was an armed Black nationalist organization for self-defense. So on the right, you can see the Afro Set outside. They out there throwing up the blackfish, police sitting there looking at them. Says it wasn't until a trip to the West Coast in early 1968 that the leadership began to put all the pieces of the organization together. A key California activist and associate of Malcolm X, Obaba Olo, served as a point of contact for their introduction to activists in and around Los Angeles. They met with West Coast leaders of the Black Panther Party, John Huggins and Bunchy Carter. Very interesting. They visited the Malcolm X Foundation led by Hakeem Jamal and the Black Congress and participated in the US organization Soul Session. They heard Kwame Ture, Stokely Carmichael speak at the Black Panther rally in the park and attended a political house party featuring would-be mayor prospect Tom Bradley. The Afro Set leadership borrowed heavily from the ideas, styles, manners, and actions of their West Coast hosts. So you can see how all of these organizations and the ideas of the Black Power movement were gathered from within. They looked, they saw, they learned, they see the young doing it, they learn from the elders, they push forward. They didn't alienate themselves. They didn't say that we're the ones with the supreme Black nationalist truth. Nope. They went to the elders. Let's keep moving. The demise of the organization. Says the COINTEL program would bring the final blow. With these false imprisonment of its leader and key cadres jailed for crimes that reflected a lack of knowledgeable leadership. The Federal Bureau of Investigation also tried, but failed to pit the Cleveland Panthers into a back-to-side war with the Afro Set. And by June 1973, Harrell, ex-prime minister of the once proud Afro Set, was forced to issue a decree from a prison cell that he was disbanding the organization. Harrell was freed after a 6-year prison stint when it was proven in federal court that the FBI COINTELPRO had used a paid informer to conspire to railroad him in prison. So, that brother, he comes home. He died, I believe, 6-7 years ago, and his whole entire goal, which he was doing before that, was to work with the grassroots, the people who come home from prison, and to actually work with the youth. And he did that until he died. But what you will see here, interesting, if you look up, you will see that they tried to make the Panthers go at the Afro Set and the Afro Set go at the Panthers. Did you not hear this same thing happen with the US organization and the Black Panthers? And it just goes on and on. But in this case, the Black Panthers had an ideological difference with these individuals because the Afro Set chose the ballot, whereas they was working with Carl Stokes and they was getting money for their programs and they were making what you would call these alternative schools. They would graduate children, etc. The Black Panthers said that you can't work with the government because if you're working with the government, then you are controlled by the white man because you are taking his money. So that was an ideological difference because the COINTELPRO FBI has these agents in there. They tried to do the same thing they did to the US organization letters. The Black Panthers built they had mobile clinics. So they built one of those hospitals there and it got bombed and blew up. And they tried to blame it on the Afro Set. But the Afro Set and the Black Panthers in Cleveland caught on to the game and they was like, we know that you guys did not do this. We know you didn't do that. We're going to work together. We're not falling for the divide and conquer. We're going to keep pushing forward. So I wish that happened in most of the cases with the other organizations. These individuals caught on to the game. But yeah, you see the end result. I don't know what they did to this man while he was in prison to make him disband his organization from jail. I don't know what they did to him. I don't know if they said they was going to kill his parents. I don't know what they did. Whatever they did, he decided to end his organization. Yeah, that was kind of sad for me. The source for this is the History of New Libya, Afro Set, a case study of Black nationalists in Cleveland, 1964 to 1971. Boom. And that will be the Afro Set. But what I want to do is I want to pull up something that Martin Luther King said. And it's real strange that they kind of don't mention him meeting with the Afro Set. They mention none of it. So I'm gonna pull this up real fast. Oop, I guess it didn't want me to grab it from there. So I'm gonna pull it up real fast here because I think this is an interesting quote that you never even hear from Martin Luther King. So let me grab this up in here. Boom, boom. Which one is it? Is it this one? Okay. Yeah, it's this one. The link is here. View. All right, so let me go to share screen. Hold up, let me make sure I'm on it. Okay. Share the blood clot screen. So how you guys, I hope y'all doing good out there, the Black History Month, man. Go look at that, I hope you guys looking at that, I hope you guys are looking at that damn community page. There's like 90 Black people on there you probably never heard of. Damn, it's 90. Anyway, this is the by any means necessary. I'll make this bigger. All right, so I want to get down to this. Boom, boom, boom. Origins of Black nationalism. Should be rolling up soon. Aha. What the hell is it? Ah, there it is. It says, meanwhile, Evans was drawing unwanted attention from law enforcement that repeatedly harassed him in the spring of '67 in the election year. According to Evans, he was harassed on the street for no reason, and on a few occasions brought to the local precinct where he was spit upon and beaten. The group was finally arrested in April when Evans and other New Libyan members were charged with unlawfully and willingly conducting themselves in a noisy, rude, insulting, and disorderly manner, threatening the manager of a local clothing store, uttering cries of get whitey, blah, blah, blah. All right. So that's that part. Where's the part? Where is it? I thought that was it. Oh, here it is. It says either Martin Luther King's peaceful efforts to the press for better jobs for Negroes met with indifference in the neighborhoods. It tells you King goes there, and this is interesting. It says Dr. King used a statement by Locke that referred to King himself as an extremist, attempting to narrow the gap between himself and Evans. King, speaking in vowed militant language, said, I am an extremist for peace. We aren't begging. We don't beg any longer. We are demanding freedom and justice, and America must give the Negro his freedom or it will have to exterminate him. Let me bring that back. King said, I am an extremist for peace. We aren't begging. We don't beg any longer. We are demanding freedom and justice, and America must give the Negro his freedom or it will have to exterminate him. Yeah, I never heard this quote from King, and I've never seen them talking about him meeting with Fred. But let's keep going. It says when Fred Evans asked about King's remarks, Evans replied, he speaks my views. and we're willing to cooperate as long as the job is done. Yeah, this is crazy. Yeah. So, Mr. King, uh, yeah. So with that, I'm gonna look in the chat, see who's in the building, see what's going on here, what we have here. Yeah, peace to the people. See who's in the chat. You guys got any questions? Want to add on about the Afro Set? I'm putting Cleveland on the map. Cleveland is on the map. Shout out. Yep, the real MLK Blockade. What's up, Gullah? Give the shout outs to Block on Bot Radio. Pure Black. What up? African Americans still run the east side of Cleveland to today. We have our own mayor separate from Central West Cleveland. That's dope. Yeah, you need the Scam Guards hoodie? We got you. Queen Cheetah. She's in the building. Everything was good. Scam Guards, what up? What up? Real One Piece, Pure Black, Edward, Wisdom in the building, Khalil in the building. Yeah, man. So peace to the people. Anybody got any questions up in here about this, you can put it in the chat. You already know the motto. If you feel like you learned something, hit the Cash App. With that, I'm going to say peace. Here's a Black History Month essential, the Afro Set, Black Nationalist Party for Self-Defense. I'm going to do another build. It's going to be called the National Independent Black Political Party, which is one of the only ones that happened in 1980. And we kind of don't know about that one, but we're going to talk about that. We're going to get to these politics. And then I'm going to be bringing up stuff from that book that you saw. I like the Alabama Liberation Front. I like those guys. And with that, I would say peace to the people. Y'all have a good day. Keep it going. Check out the community page. Share the videos. Like the shows. Tell your children. Put them on. With that, I'll say peace. We're going. Shoom, shoom.